Welcome back, Explorer. You look tired, and of course we don't blame you. You've had a long journey through the backrooms so far, and considering some of the terrifying things you've seen over the previous 11 levels, who can blame you for losing sleep? There aren't many places in this frightening dimension where you can comfortably take the weight off your feet and just relax. Do you think you're any safer here? Well, let's find out. Welcome to Level 12, Explorer. We hope you enjoy your stay. As you enter the level, you notice how different it seems from so many of the others. In many cases, levels of the backrooms have been defined by their dizzying expansiveness. An office block that goes on for eternity, the endless winding streets of a city that feels more procedurally generated than constructed by human hands, a field misty and desolate, going on and on and on. But that's not this level. It's a white room, not especially large or small. The gleaming paint job on the wall almost induces a kind of snow blindness. It's an unnatural level of crispness and clarity, like walking into some surreal screensaver. There's a door on the far wall, but strangely, you notice that there isn't a door behind you. Don't worry, you're too well versed in the ways of the backrooms to be bothered by the logical inconsistency of that. You're instead focused on the chair and table sitting in the center of the room, as though you're preparing for a job interview, and your interviewer just happened to be late. But you're not late, or early. Time is just sort of irrelevant in the backrooms. It's something you've always liked about the place. It'll never move on without you. It'll always move at the pace you do, even if the way it expresses that is by sending a horde of vicious, bloodthirsty monsters after you while you run for your life. You have to take the good with the bad on these things, right? The first thing you do is approach the door, of course. It's never a bad idea to see if anything is waiting on the other side. With your free hand, you keep a tight grip on the handle of the revolver that's been with you for so many levels now. Anything that even thinks about coming after you will have 6 of your tiny metal friends to deal with, and they could move a hell of a lot faster than any entity you'd met so far. However, as you jiggle the door handle, you realize that the door is locked. Well, that figures. Several levels ago, that might have disturbed you, or even led you to panic, but you're more of a hardened backrooms veteran these days. Every level you've learned has its own logic, its own internal rhythm. If you wish to survive in the backrooms, you need to remain ever versatile. You need to analyze every level on its own terms, with no expectation that it may exist in the same parameters of other levels. You need to learn the rules anew each time, and learn how to properly play them. That's why, given the only other objects in the room are a table and chair, you decide to take a load off and sip some tasty, rejuvenating almond water out of your canteen. You spend a moment thinking about how much it would suck to be stuck in the backrooms and have a nut allergy. Would that effectively spell doom for you? It's a frightening yet compelling question. It feels good to be sitting down and take it easy for once. You suffered horrors that would cleave apart the imagination and plunge the average person into a pit of gibbering madness. Not that you want to be dramatic about it, of course, but you've seen everything from eyes that can vaporize people with a glance, to giant underwater horrors, to evil conglomerations of pipe cleaners lurking around in a cursed hotel. You've lived about 30 horror movies worth of pure nightmares. You deserve a break, Explorer. But there's a problem. It seems that whenever you take a moment to rest, all of the problems you were worrying about on the outside suddenly return. Your regrets about your family and friends, your fears about your worth and mortality, your doubts about whether you have an intrinsic meaning as a person. You breathe a sigh and shake your head, wishing all the thoughts in your head would settle down for a minute and let you rest. There's an eternal debate raging inside you. Which do you prefer? The nagging existential dreads from the old world that seem to be tattooed between the folds of your brain, or the immediate life or death threats that seem to lurk around every corner here in the backrooms? You can't help but laugh at the surreality of this. It's like asking, would you rather be kicked in the face or punched in the crotch? There's truly no winning. Your moment of self-pity is thankfully interrupted when someone else enters the room. This startles you. Much like your average gamer, it can be days or even weeks between moments where you encounter other human beings. And even in these moments, you can't help but wonder, friend or foe? Reality or illusion? Are you a human being or just a skin stealer wearing one? The stranger who's entered the room is a tall, muscular woman. with brown skin, wearing a gray vest and camo pants. Her arms are well built and covered in old scars. Her black hair is drawn up into a ponytail. She carries a large military-style backpack on her back with impressive ease. You think about going for your revolver again, but you intuit that if you do, it may end up getting pulled from your hands and shoved back into your mouth. Instead, you decide to be polite and greet this new stranger, welcoming her to level 12. She asks you if you're an entity that comes with the level, still seemingly slightly on guard. You stifle a laugh and tell her no, you're just a fellow explorer, waiting for something to happen. She smiles and comments that everybody is always waiting for something to happen, then introduces herself as Trish. Before you even have a chance to get up and offer her your chair, seeing as you've already been sitting down for a little while now, she slings her bag off her shoulder and takes a seat on the table. Already you can feel your worries from before being pushed to the wayside. Being here with another human, actually talking, is a welcome distraction from the horrors that have come before, and the horrors that will surely come after. Here, with the achievements and the survival you've gained, you feel more confident talking to strangers. You've earned your place here. Trish asks how you got down here, and you recount the story we've been telling over the course of these videos. You hated your life on the outside. The reality is that there was no place for you in that world anymore, and that's a reality you had to face. After getting interested in the legends of the Backrooms through reading about them on various niche internet forums, you decide to take the opportunity to escape into this strange new world and leave the old you behind. Because you were nothing special before. Hell, you were nothing, period. Here, you have the ability to reinvent yourself. While you tell the story, Trish just seems to listen and nod intently. There's a strangely profound calm to her, like someone who has seen it all and lets it all roll off her back. But it's been quite some time since you've encountered a good listener. So maybe you overdo it, but really, it's just nice to have an opportunity to get it all off your chest, isn't it? When you're done, you feel self-conscious about talking about yourself so much. So you ask Trish about her story. She seems reluctant at first, but you say to her, who knows how long they'll be on this level. The Backrooms is unpredictable like that. So the two of you might as well swap war stories to pass the time here. She chuckles when you use the phrase, war stories. Trish reaches into her vest and fishes out a pair of military dog tags with her thumb, before letting them fall limply against her chest. You were just politely curious about her story before, but now you just have to know. After some polite bugging, Trish finally relents and begins to tell the story of how she got to the Backrooms. A few years back, she was one of the many soldiers deployed by the US military in Afghanistan. She'd seen terrible things during her deployment, friends and innocents dying in acts of stupid, unnecessary violence. Her second tour was almost at its end when her NCO told her and a small group of 3 others to investigate an abandoned house in a nearby village, where intel had reported suspicious activity. When her little group entered the building, they noticed that one wall seemed conspicuously darker than the others. Thinking logically, they assumed this might be a false wall hiding a secret room. The last thing they expected was to touch it and then all be no-clipped into the Backrooms. Trish and her fellow soldiers had been making their way down through the Backrooms ever since, much like you. It didn't take a genius to notice that only Trish was here without the 3 other soldiers she supposedly entered with. Thankfully, you didn't need to feel insensitive and ask what had happened to the others. Trish sighed and decided to surrender that information voluntarily. They'd lost their first, Colin, on level 1, the Endless Warehouse. They'd missed level 0 and no-clipped right through a concrete wall. None of them had ever heard of the Backrooms before, so this was an entirely new experience for them. This is why Colin, who'd been one of the bravest among them, was so easily ambushed by a group of dullers in the hallway, who dragged him away and ate him alive. Trish shuddered. She'd never forget his screams. The second teammate she'd lost, Andreas, had been the most adventurous member of them all. He was the kind of guy who took chances. He'd go for the moonshot that everyone else was afraid to take. That's why when they were on level 4, the abandoned office, he felt immediately drawn to the windows. And as someone who almost underwent the exact same fate, you know how this sad little story ends. Andreas prized open a window, hoping to crawl up and get some help. He was instead grabbed by a pair of huge, clawed hands, which dragged him into oblivion as he wailed on in horror. Trish breathed a little heavier as she's recounting the fate of her team, but you get the sense that this might be the only time she's ever gotten to tell someone about this. You know well enough yourself, it can be cathartic to share, even when the sharing is painful. The third and final member of her team was lost in level 5. His name was Derek, and he'd been the youngest member of the team. His timidness had kept him safe until now, but it was clear that being trapped in this terrible place had been weighing on his mind. He stopped talking, developed a haunted 1,000-yard stare. The horrors of this place were hollowing him out. In some moments, Trish had even noticed him talking to himself. Trish sighed and said, I think it noticed his weakness. It saw a vulnerability it could exploit, so of course it targeted him, targeted both of us. They were wandering through the luxurious halls of level 5 when they'd heard a strange voice in their head, deep and refined, but at the same time, it had a cruel, untrustworthy, serpentine quality. Trish knew immediately that these words were not to be trusted, but Derek was seduced by their content. I have a wonderful opportunity for you, the voice said. A way to not only escape, but to know kinds of power and pleasure that you've only dreamed of. All we need to do is make a little deal. By the time the legendary beast of level 5 manifested in front of them, it was already too late. Trish was brought up Catholic. She closed her eyes, feeling the dark power humming off of this cephalopod monstrosity. In her mind, she kept repeating, don't listen, this is the devil. But poor, scared Derek had no such defenses. He accepted the deal and shook hands with the beast, and just like that, he was never seen again. Since then, Trish had been traveling alone, traversing the backrooms level by level just like you, and using her military knowledge and skills to survive in spite of all the odds being against her. Hearing this, you finally understand just how remarkable it is that you've survived this long. When Trish's story is done, she thanks you. Nothing will ever make it better, but being able to talk about it all certainly helps. She wishes you luck on your travels, and you do the same for her. We hope you've enjoyed your time on level 12, and the brief respite from the horrors that they've given you, because very soon, it's all going to get oh so much worse. Want to stay tuned for the next exciting exploration into the backrooms as we delve deeper and deeper into this liminal abyss? Be sure to subscribe to the Backrooms Explained and turn on notifications so you never miss another expedition. Now go check out Level 13, the apartment building, for more exercises into Backrooms terror.